What's up YouTube, this is GalacticGod, and I'm coming at you now with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Q&A video. Now I got a huge response, literally over 400 questions were asked of me. Now I can't answer all those questions in this video, that would just be insane. It would make the video something like 3 or 4 hours long, and that would just be really crazy. So I'm going to answer as many of them as I possibly can in this video, but if I did not get to your question, I do apologize. Hopefully maybe in a future Q&A I will be able to get to it. Also, I am really bad with people's names, so if I mispronounce your screen name or whatever, I apologize for that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and get things kicked off here with a video question that was sent in to me.
Hello GalacticGod, it is I, Yugioh. I have a question. And the question is divided into 2 parts. 1, what are your thoughts on global being limited? And 2, are you going to use the typical plant engine including global and spore and dandelion in your synchron build?
In all honesty, I really don't think that Glow Bulb is going to have that big of an impact on too many decks, at least not in the current format. I think a lot of the cards actually that are on the forbidden list or that are limited to a certain amount, they can really be changed. I think there's a lot of cards that are banned that don't need to be banned any longer. I think there's a lot of cards that are limited to 1 or 2 that could be unlimited, but Konami just kind of leaves them there on the list for way too long. If I had my way, Glow Bulb would be just the first of many cards to come off of the forbidden list. As for your other question, of course I'm going to try the plant engine in a synchron type build. Who wouldn't want to do that with plants now more or less back at full strength with 2 Lone Fires, Glow Up Bulb, Dandelion, and Spore. So it's almost like we've got the whole plant synchron engine back together again. If only Tengu was back at 3, I think it would be a pretty crazy synchron type S format. The only thing you gotta look out for now is that pesky little Vanity's Emptiness. A polyester asks, how did you get into Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, a long time ago, many moons ago, I was into this game called HeroClix. Now I know they've kind of made a little bit of a comeback and they actually have Yu-Gi-Oh Clicks now too. Anyways, I was really into HeroClix and that kind of transitioned me into a bunch of the other kind of card games at the time. And one of my friends was into Yu-Gi-Oh! Now this was back in Yu-Gi-Oh's infancy. I think there was only like a few sets out at the time and he wanted me to try it. And at first I was real standoffish. I was like, I don't really want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! It seems more like a little kid's game. But he was very persistent and eventually I caved in and I was like, alright, I'll give this game a shot. And he brought over a couple of decks, one for me and one for another friend of mine that was going to learn how to play also. And we kind of battled it out and I used this weird Yumi water deck. My other friend was using this machine type deck. And it was a lot of fun actually. We really got into it and I told him, you know, next time he comes over, bring the Yu-Gi-Oh cards again and we'll try it out again. It kind of evolved from there after playing, you know, with his spare decks and spare cards over and over again. I just, you know, wanted to start getting my own cards. And eventually I went out and bought some packs, and then I discovered this place called Frankincense where you can go and just buy singles, and I started going there quite a bit, and then I started attending locals and so forth and so on, and that's kind of how I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! So Nimnim asks, how far out of your area do you travel for events? And in all honesty, I really don't go too far away from me. I live in California, for those of you guys who don't know, and I usually go maybe a state or so over at most. I've been to events over in Arizona, Texas, and Nevada a bunch of times, but I really don't go too much farther than that. Also, you know, I don't really normally get to attend nationals because it's usually like a week after or a week before Comic-Con, and I go to Comic-Con pretty much every year, and it's quite a bit of money to attend the San Diego Comic-Con, and so I usually don't have, you know, the funds left to go ahead and try to travel across the country to attend nationals. So, you know, going farther for events to get an invite to nationals is not really, you know, a priority to me because I usually don't get to attend nationals unless it's very close to California anyways. I Got Your World asks, what do your parents think of you playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And are they proud of you? I would like to think that my parents are proud of me regardless of whether or not I play Yu-Gi-Oh! But what do they think of it? They really don't have too big of a problem with it at all. I mean, I've always been into kind of, you know, nerdy stuff anyways, whether it be collecting comics when I was young and whatnot. And so, you know, they don't really care. As long as I'm not out, you know, breaking into people's houses or murdering people, I mean, they're pretty cool with any kind of hobby that I have. Alright, Javari Reyes 405 asks, Marvel or DC? And at heart, I've always been a Marvel guy. Ever since I was a little kid, really, I've collected Marvel comic books. Really, the first book that I ever got was also a Marvel book. When I was like 10 or 11 or so, It wasn't even at a comic book store or anything quite like that. I can't remember if it was a supermarket or a convenience store of some kind, but we were just going through the aisles, me and my father, and I came across this little stand where they used to have these little stands and they have comic books kind of staggered in them. And I was thumbing through one and my father asked, hey, would you like to get one of those? And I was like, oh yeah, would you get it for me? And he was like, sure. And that was the first comic book that I ever got, and it was a Spider-Man book. And I just remember falling in love with comic books after that, and I collected them for a very, very long time. And it was definitely always been more of a Marvel guy at heart because of that. Guilty Casual asks, what is your least favorite deck? Final countdown. Mr. Prozac asks, what a name. What are your favorite archetypes? Definitely Synchron is at the top of my list. I also really enjoy Heroes. Crystal Beasts are one of my favorites. Heraldic Beast is another one. Monarchs, Battery Man I love playing lately just because the crazy OTK plays you can pull out of nowhere. Just anything that's really fast or super combo oriented, I really like playing. Acer Carter asks, who are your favorite Yugi tubers and why? And I would say my favorite Yugi tubers often change because so do my taste in Yugi tubing type videos. That's one of the really cool things about the community is that there's a huge variety of not only Yugi tubers but different types of Yugi tubing videos. So sometimes I'll be really into stuff like pack openings or product openings, and I'll end up watching stuff like, Cyber Knight or Simply Unlucky quite a bit, or sometimes I'll be really into just creative deck building, and I'll be watching a lot of WK Dad's old videos or whatever, or if I'm into duel videos, maybe I'm watching a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! For Real Men. I definitely love his channel. It's one of my favorite ones. If I'm just interested in commentary talk or stuff like that, then maybe I might check out a lot of Mega Capital G or Nim Nim, or RJBO is definitely really great for a lot of the discussion videos. I like that there's just a huge variety of different Yugi tubers for different type of Yugi tubing videos. So you don't have to come to this community with just one kind of video that you want to watch. There's a huge variety of different stuff that you can get out of Yugi tubing, and that's one of the things that I really like about it. Shadow and Yusei says he has two questions for me. First, what is your worst memory in Yu-Gi-Oh! And what is your best memory? Obviously my worst was when I got my deck stolen from me at an event. It actually happened to me twice, but the second time was very devastating and I almost wanted to leave the game. I was so upset. Luckily though, my friends talked me into staying, helped me rebuild my deck and all that kind of good stuff. Probably my favorite memory was meeting Dan Green, the voice of Yugi. It was really cool. Me and Brainfreeze Laser and our girlfriends, we were at the World Championship in Las Vegas about a year ago, and Dan Green of course was doing one of the voice work there and just being a part of the presentation in general. And we were walking, getting ready to go to lunch, leaving the convention area, and who was walking out? The voice of Yugi himself. It's pretty cool. He sat there and chit-chatted with us for like maybe a minute or so. Really seemed like a nice cool guy, and then he was like, alright, I'm gonna go eat lunch now too. Team Madolce OTK asks, what format did you first start playing in, and give us a story from the first big event that you went to, like a regional, YCS, etc. I started really playing the game, though actually getting into it probably around the time of Magician's Force, Dark Crisis era. So right before the whole Chaos Monsters came out. So Breaker the Magical Warrior, Gemini Elf, Yada, Donzalug, these are some of the really popular cards that were around at the time. There was no real archetypes per se when I first started playing. It was just people used whatever cards they liked most. And so everybody pretty much ran almost the exact same identical deck. So every game you played at a tournament was a mirror match, pretty much. I mean, there might have been, a 2 to 6 or 7 card difference in the whole deck. So it was more or less really just a mirror match every game. The first big event I went to was a regional out in Anaheim. It was really cool because I got to meet Jay Kim there, or J Love from Pojo. He wrote a lot of articles up on that site as well as on metagame.com. And a friend of mine really wanted to duel him bad, and he went over to him and he got to meet him and everything. And we were all talking to him for a second, and he asked Jay to duel, and Jay was like, I'm not really dueling anybody right now. And my friend was like, what about if we duel for cards? And he was like, I don't really want to do that. And he was like, well, what if I put my DMOC up for like whatever you want? And he was like, oh, okay. So they sat down to duel, and I remember, within 5 minutes, Jay had already beaten him and took in his DMOC. And my friend was like, that was so awesome. I just lost to Jay Kim. That was always a great memory from that event, though. Gormagon asks, wait, so we can ask you anything? Yes. Yes, you can. Intelligent Mons asks, do you consider yourself a pack opening addict? And not really. I mean, I used to open product mostly just to resell. Now I don't do that so much anymore. Now I just buy product just because I feel like opening product, but it's definitely not as often as it once was. Simo asks, what is the first card you remember pulling from a pack? Were you truly excited to pull it? And then he goes on to say that his was a Call the Haunted from the Pharaoh's Servant. Out of the first pack that I ever bought for myself, I pulled Injection Fairy Lily. It was a secret rare in the set. It was pretty epically awesome. I know I was pretty jazzed when I pulled it because I just went and bought one pack just out of nowhere, just because I saw it in the store and I was like, you know what, I want to buy a pack and just see what I can get. And it was, yeah, I still have that card to this day. It's probably one of my favorite cards that I have in my collection. The Shiny Guys ask, what is your favorite rarity and why? I would have to say either Ultimate Rare or Secret Rare. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't really dig on Ultimates too much, but I kind of like the way the textury look that it has. And also the Secret Rares, I kind of like the way it glitters. I don't know, those are my two favorite rarities. Peter G asks, how do you sort your cards? Well, as you can see, a lot of my stuff is mostly unsorted at any given time. But in my actual binders and books, I usually sort by archetype. So I'll have like all my Black Wings together, then all Battery Man and you know, Elemental Heroes, Cloudians, or whatever. I usually just sort them all by that. I don't usually go by sets or rarity or anything like that. It's just archetypes. That way it makes it easier for me whenever I'm trying to build decks. I can just flip through my books real fast and find specific archetypes and then go from there. Tim Scarface90 asks, why don't you have your child on your channel more, or your girlfriend? Basically, my son is not into Yu-Gi-Oh at all. He used to be into Pokemon a little bit, but now he just seems like he's more into Minecraft than anything. He watches a lot of Minecraft videos up on YouTube, and yeah, so he's just not into it. I mean, I've had him in a couple videos up on my channel, usually little goofy spoof stuff, but that's pretty much it. My girlfriend doesn't really like to be in too many videos either. She comes in sometimes, does pack openings, or, you know, she's done duel videos with me in the past as well, but she doesn't really have too big of an interest on being an actual Yu-Gi-Tuber though. Yugimation asks, if you did not collect an insane amount of shooting Quasar Dragons, what card do you think you would collect the most of? I don't know, probably something really off the wall, like the ultra rare Skull Servants or Crimson Sunbirds, or just something that, you know, nobody would want. Geigeros T asks, when you start a new Yu-Gi-Tubing channel, for your first video, should it be an introduction of yourself talking about your channel, or should you just start posting other kinds of videos, like openings or deck profiles, etc.? I'm asking because I checked out some Yu-Gi-Tuber channels and none of them had an introduction video. And I guess you don't really need to start with an introduction video. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't hurt to post one first. But I mean, realistically, probably nobody is watching your channel for the first video if you just make an introduction one. People don't, you know, go to search bar and search out, you know, introduction video. They probably go and they'll search, you know, whatever the newest set, pack opening, or if they're looking for a certain deck, they'll go, you know, Battery Man deck profile or Stella Knight deck profile. And that's usually how your channel gets noticed first, is by, you know, the content that you're producing up there, not necessarily an introduction of yourself. I mean, if you want to make an introduction video and post it up, and then right away post up your first actual video, whether it be, you know, some kind of opening or duel video or deck profile, whatever the case may be, I think that might be a better option to go with, because then you'll actually have some content up there that people might search for. Jonathan Perez asks, when you first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and going to tournaments, what was the first deck you started with, and what deck do you use now? Like I said earlier in the video, when I first started playing, there was no real archetype. It was really just the best cards out there. And when I really first started going to tournaments was right around the time of Invasion of Chaos. And so everybody had, you know, Dragon, Soldier, Yada, Ring of Destruction. It was just kind of a collage of all the greatest cards. It was right before the first ever ban list, so everything was legal and limited to one. But it was a crazy time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because everything was just so powerful. Currently I'm running 3.5 Axis Fire Fist, but recently, over the last format or two, I have dabbled with Battery Man and Kawaki Maru quite a bit. Those are two archetypes that I like a lot. But right now I'm really digging on 3.5 Axis Fire Fist. Ever since they brought back Wolfberg, I you know, really wanted to try the deck out, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Duelist King asked two questions. Number one, approximately how many cards do you think are in your collection? And number 2, who are your favorite YouTubers besides yourself? I have no idea how many cards are in my collection. It's got to be tens of thousands, really. My favorite YouTubers are constantly changing. One of my all-time favorites is definitely Yugioh for Real Man. His duel videos are just insanely cool to watch. If you've never checked him out, go look up Yugioh for Real Man. He hasn't posted a video in quite a while, but definitely a very cool YouTuber, very unique channel. King of the Feral Imps asks, hey GG, have you ever considered playing Yu-Gi-Oh more competitively, or do you think casual is the way to go? I don't think there is really a right or wrong way to play Yu-Gi-Oh, whether it be competitive or casual, but I myself cannot play very competitive right now. I don't have the time to devote to being a competitive player, and because I don't have that kind of free time, I just choose to play Yu-Gi-Oh casually and just have fun with weird decks whenever I actually have the time to do so. Lunar Mysteries asks, where did the name GalacticGod come from? Well, many moons ago, long before I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I was a part of a forum board called Galactic Comics. Actually, it was a forum board that I created for myself and my friends, and eventually other people across the internet joined in as well. And since I was the moderator of the board, I called myself GalacticGod on there as just kind of a spoof on the name. And then I kind of liked it, and so when I started creating other future emails or just signing into new accounts on different things, like YouTube for example, I used the name GalacticGod as my screen name. And when I first got into YouTube, it wasn't to make YouTube videos. I just wanted to watch YouTube videos and comment on them and whatever. And then when I decided to finally become a YouTuber, I just stayed with my GalacticGod account, and that's ultimately how I ended up with the name GalacticGod up here on YouTube. Hayden Vance asks, do you like green eggs and ham? And I cannot stand eggs, whether they be green or not. And I'm really not a big fan of ham either, so no. Xander PS210 asks, what about Garuzis? Pie Takeout, which is an awesome screen name, asks, what is the best budget deck this format? And for my money, I would say it's Battery Man. I think that's at least the most fun budget deck that is slightly competitive or can actually keep up with some of the other, quote-unquote best decks out there. Really, I like Battery Man quite a bit. I was playing it a lot last format, and I think it's still probably the best of the budget decks, at least in my opinion, for this format. The M4DM4X asks, will we ever see your girlfriend's face? And really, it's not up to me, it's more up to her. She's just a little self-conscious about talking in front of the camera, like face to face like this. And, she kind of gets a little staggered and whatnot, and she just doesn't really have an interest in doing that. But I mean, if you actually wanted to see her, I mean, I have other social media, outlets that you can go to, like Instagram or Facebook, and there's all kinds of pictures of her up on there if you just wanted to see what she looks like. Or, if you've been to some of the TCG events that I've gone to, she's gone to quite a bit of them with me. And a lot of people have met her there at those events. So, I mean, it's not like a big mystery. It's just that, like a lot of people, she doesn't like, being in front of the camera like this. Alinthio asks, what is your favorite and least favorite set that you've opened and why? Well, definitely my favorite had to probably be Legendary Collection 3 Yugi's World. I mean, it was just something really cool. It was like a throwback to all these cards that I used to love and that I remember from, when I first started playing the game. And it was just really cool seeing them in holographic form, a lot of them for the first time, and I just had a blast with that. As for my least favorite, probably maybe something like Duelist Revolution. I just could never pull well out of that set. I mean, there's a lot of really great, awesome cards, Pot of Duality, Solemn Warning, Effect Veiler, Scrap Dragon, so many game-changing cards, and I always pulled stuff like the Unicorn cards or just, retarded stuff that I had a million copies of, and I could never get anything good. Just every pack that I opened, every special edition that I opened from that set, was just like the stuff that I did not want. Faded X Duelist asks, will you be attending the YCS Anaheim? And if so or not, what do you predict will be taking home the #1 place? I will be at the YCS Anaheim in November, so if you guys are going to the event, I encourage you come up, say hello. I love meeting my subscribers whenever I attend any of these big events. It's always really cool meeting those who enjoy the content that I produce up here on YouTube, so definitely come say hi if you're going to be there as well. What do I think is going to win? As for what's going to win, I guess I'll go with a safe pick of Burning Abyss. Mr. Attention Duelist asks if you can play in any past format, which one would it be and why? Well, for me, it's definitely going to have to be the Plant Synchro format. Either the first one or the second one. I think they were both pretty awesome. Synchrons, of course, are probably one of my favorite decks to play. There was the height of the Synchro engine, if you will. And I don't know, just something about that format. It just embodied everything that I really liked about Yu-Gi-Oh! It was super combo based and just a lot of fun, at least in my opinion. Michael Sarkis asks, what do you prefer, locals, regionals, or YCSs? Definitely it would have to be YCSs. There's just something about that big event feel that you get whenever you attend a YCS that's just makes the whole experience that much more epic, at least in my opinion. I always have a great time whenever I attend a YCS. And the last question comes from Programmer X, who asks, has there ever been a time where you wanted to give up on Yu-Gi-Oh? Sell all your cards and move on? And, you know, realistically, the answer would have to be yes. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh can definitely frustrate the hell out of someone. Anyone that's been playing this game for any significant amount of time can tell you that that's true, but it also has this way of drawing you back in, of luring you closer. It's almost like a really bad relationship that you just can't get away from. But in all fairness, you know, I really do enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh quite a bit. I love Yu-Gi tubing and playing this game. I think the community is really awesome, you know, for the most part. There are definitely bad seeds in every apple. But I think the passion and the creativity that so many players have, it just brings out the best in a lot of us. And I think, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely a great hobby and one that, you know, I'm glad I've stuck with over the years. Alright guys, there you have it. That was my Yu-Gi-Oh Q&A. I'm sorry I could not answer every question that was asked to me in the original video, but if you would like to see an answer to that question, or if you have a new question you want to ask me, go ahead and leave them down in the description below, and I will try and answer them there. And finally, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much to all my subscribers for, you know, not only asking me these questions, but for being there and supporting me through all my years of Yu-Gi tubing. It was very much been appreciated, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I guess that's it for now. This is GalacticGod.